What sci-fi movie were they taking the drug through the eyeball like it was a drop? And so I was out at Poor Behavior for fight night. We had a table there. It wasn't bad. We had a pretty good time. And I'm sitting there taking these like 3 or 4 times an hour at the table. And I feel like that movie, I can't remember. I don't think it's Total Recall. I think it's...
No, it gave them like violent tendencies, right?
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, I remember it.
And I don't think it's Blade Runner either, but it was something like from the 80s. If you guys can go figure that out, that'd be great. So I feel like I'm that 80s sci-fi movie when I'm taking this. I'm like, I just need my drops in my eyes. So anyways, I had surgery last week and everything's working out great. Aside from the fact that my eyes are super itchy. I just want to claw them out. But what did you say? Brain damage? Is that the show?
Yeah, put 90s in. Nothing. No, keep going. Go 2000. Yeah, sure. Bring us in. Good evening, everyone. Robert here with Mr. Texas Real Estate, and joined by my partner, Jason Bible. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. So this is Motivational Monday. I don't know when you're listening to it, but we're definitely recording on a Monday. And I want to talk to you guys today about, I had this little interesting little Facebook DM this weekend. Someone said, Rob, I've been watching your videos, but it's all technical. You used to do great motivation stuff. And I'm like, so I thought about it. I was like, okay.
You just didn't reply back. Get to work. There's your motivation.
Right. Well, you know what? Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone who's doing some education, in newly formed education space in the real estate world. So
okay.
She just moved over, and I said, hey, we're kind of outgrowing that. We keep joking about high school and college, and the people that we talk to now are really about the mastery of doing it, not so much being motivated to do it.
The funny thing is that real estate is such kind of a high school sport. Like when you watch Fox Business, CNBC, when you watch like the business channels, there's not a show dedicated to you can do it, invest in stocks, you too can. If you just be, and everyone's like, no, let's talk about what's going on in the marketplace and all that. So maybe we'll talk a little Tesla later. I was watching some Tesla vids last night, but yeah, well, I don't mind doing the motivational stuff. It's fine. We'll do some motivation.
Well, my thought was, well, where have you been?
Oh, that's true.
And I'm like, my thought was, and I guess I'm kind of, yes, the answer is, are you still at the starting line? Why do you need motivation?
Yeah.
Like, it's like we're now in practice mode. Like we're putting everything into practice. Mm-hmm. And I just went through, I watched a few motivational videos to see what I was missing from, I'm a pretty introspective guy, right? So I spend a little time on it. And it's like, here's the 5 things to be a successful entrepreneur. It's like, get a better set of friends. Like, we've already done that. Check.
Yep.
Right? Set your goals, right? Check. Mm-hmm. We've already done that, right? Implement, check. I'm like, oh, we're just doing what everyone else is talking about.
Right. Well, it's the classic, when you and I were talking about get a better set of friends last week, I can tell where you're at in your business by the language you use.
Sure.
We were talking about this. Rob and I went to go look at a 6-unit this morning, and I was talking about some of the things I've been talking about for the last week or so, and I'm like, I can tell where somebody's at in their business based off the language they use, right? And the challenges that they're having. And you start hearing some of these things. Someone says they're wildly successful. We've done this great thing and that great thing. And then you talk to them for 5 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, you're not.
You're kind of broke.
I mean, you think you're successful, right? Well, I'll say this, and this is going to really offend a lot of people, but I really could care less. Ultra wealth in this country starts at 30 million.
Right.
A net worth of 30 million.
Yep.
You can have a Ferrari and a Lambo and a paid off house and all that other stuff, but when you're under that $30 million line,
Sure.
you're doing well, but you ain't rich. Like, there's a lot of people that pretend they've got $5-10 million bucks and they act like they're rich. I'm like, dude, you ain't there yet. 30 million is really the line. It's kind of like the top 1% we know starts at about $400,000. Depending on what state you're in, could be as high as 6, right? So when you're
and I'll go for even. I'll just say wealthy doesn't start till around 8 million.
yeah, you need
$8 million in assets, right?
In fact, let me tell you why that's. Let me tell you where those numbers come from.
Yeah.
If you're going to retire in the next 10 years and you don't have a net worth of $5 million, you're going to be saying, "Hi, thank you for coming to Walmart."
Exactly.
If you don't have $5 million in net worth, you're going to be working till you die. And if you are around the age 40 or younger,
You're just not going to be making as much money as you did when you were healthy.
That's right. That's right. And if you are around the age of 40 or younger, the number's 10 million. It's 10 million not to eat dog food or cat food. That was always the joke, right?
Passively, yeah.
Passively. Mm-hmm. You've got to have $10 million in assets if you're around 40 years old or younger to retire.
That's why I said 8 at 5%. You know, that's a 1%er right there.
Right.
5.5% makes you 1%.
So when folks are in their 40s and 50s and they've got a net worth of 10, 12, 15 million bucks, it's not bad. But the guys I see on Facebook that are bragging about it, it's like, dude, you don't understand that the game starts at 30. If you're going to play the game at that higher level, this starts at 30.
Right. So here's the conversation that, again, talk about motivation versus action. It's, hey, when you're being motivated, you're talking about, I want to make $1 million and I want a Ferrari and all this other stuff. It's like, that's great. And it absolutely was a big part of my life and it worked. But now I'm like, hey, I'm worth X millions of dollars. I want a Tesla. I got to figure out how to do it so that I pay the very least on taxes on it, how I can make it an expense to the company versus a personal expense to me, which is paid before income taxes. Now I'm worried about the actual doing of it.
Right. Yeah. You know, we joke about the Lambo, right?
Right.
The problem is I can't sneak that one by the IRS.
Can't do it, right? But 2 Cybertrucks with an etched Mr. Texas Real Estate on there is legit, right?
But here's the thing. It's like, well, the Lambo's $300,000. I'm like, no, it's not. It's $420,000 because I'm going to pay $120,000 in taxes just to get that stupid car, right? Well, probably 90. So it'd be $390,000 plus sales tax, gas guzzler tax, and everything else. So you start looking at it like this damn thing's $500,000 for a stupid car I can't even pull into half the parking lots in Houston, right? So you start looking at some of these guys. Now, don't get me wrong, we can grow a YouTube channel really quick with a Lambo. I've already researched that.
Yes.
You really can. Mm-hmm. But the goal is that, or when you sit back and look and you go, you make the $1 million. Now what?
Now what?
Now you look around and go, okay, that was, I guess, fun. I
Yeah.
mean, now what are we doing next year? You know, we've been joking for the last couple of weeks. It looks like both lotteries were won in the last. Somebody won it last Thursday, for Wednesday, whatever it was, and then the Texas one was won this week. And chatting with some friends of mine, and everyone's kind of talking. I was chatting with my dad too. You know, what would you do differently? I'm like, I'm not doing anything differently. Like it's that classic example or that classic saying I have from one of my really wealthy friends. He said, Jason, you're going to spend a lot of time building your wealth, but you're going to spend twice as much time protecting it. And the problem is when people have really early success or when they are gifted success, you know, they're gifted, they inherit something, they inherit large sums of money, that sort of thing. It drives them crazy because they don't realize how to make it. And if you don't know how to make it, you sure as hell don't know how to defend against it. The making is actually easier. It's easier to make the money than it is to defend the risks.
Yes.
Chatting with a guy at Poor Behavior the other night, and it was funny. He said, hey, I work over at, I won't tell you where he worked, but he said, hey, I work over at such and such a place. And I was like, oh, I said, we're kindred spirits. He said, why do you say that? I said, well, I used to be the risk manager. He goes, oh my gosh, we could go through this whole bar and ask anybody what a risk manager is, and they'd have no clue. So we must have talked for like 2 hours straight about risk management, finance, and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, when you start looking at, you know, those who is closest to you, what they're spending their money on, the kind of language they use, it becomes very apparent who's where on their journey.
Yes.
They can't fake that.
Yes. And that's the whole point of it is you've got to grow. You've got to move forward, right? If you still need motivation, that's great. Tons of YouTube videos out there. But you've got to start. And once you start, you've got all these little hurdles you've got to keep coming up. Now, once you money makes things easier, right?
Yes.
It absolutely does.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're at the point where, and we want to surround ourselves with the people who are successful in their day jobs, want to get into real estate, aren't afraid of picking up $1 million or $2 million in their portfolio, real estate portfolio, and have to deal with all the things that come with it. Mm-hmm. And so our conversations these days aren't, hey, let's get going. It's like, hey, here's a tax strategy I just heard. Let's run it by our tax consultant, make sure this is legit, and see how much it'll actually be to set it up. That's a lot different conversation than let's go make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're still at that point where you got to make a lot of money, we get it. Let's get going. But if you already have money and you have a portfolio, you've got to start figuring these things out. And that's going to become your motivation to protect your money. We're going to talk more about this when we come back from the break. This is Robert and Jason, Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. We'll be back.
Just roll us right back in, A-Rock.
Yeah, the realization was, you're still starting something new. You got another new thing. This person who talked to me, it's just like...
Let's go right into that, because I totally want to get into that. You ready? Looks like he's DJing over there, got the ones and twos. We're good. Yeah, if we're still in motivation mode, it means to me we haven't started yet.
Yeah.
We just haven't started yet.
Yep.
You don't... Do you think... now, this is the elite of the elite. You think Tom Brady gets up in the morning and... I could see him having some kind of incantation or whatever.
I'm sure
it
he's
is,
got
right?
some music
some
pumping,
mantra.
right?
Yeah, he's got
his headphones.
He's got something, but
it's not to be motivated. It's to get in the zone.
That's right.
Right. And there's a big difference, right? Like listening to all these videos is great, but I'm listening these days to get into the zone. It's like I need to get in that room and work out.
Yes.
I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to get in that zone. I'm going to drop everything from my face and go over there and do what I need to do. I do it for work still.
Right.
You hear you too. The radio's
I got the music
cranking,
going. All that.
That means we're working.
Right.
I've tried to explain that to people around the office. Like, you guys listen to it loud. It's like, that means we're working. We're in a zone.
Yeah, you guys are partying in your office. I'm like, no, we're working.
We're in the zone. So you're going to take what you learned in that from those YouTube videos and the music and just apply it. Move it forward. Hey, this is how I work best. I put my headphones on. I get in the zone. I go.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are missing that go part.
It was funny. We're working on these pamphlets and this marketing stuff this morning. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I've never sat down in a meeting and like pounded out the creative part of marketing. Usually I'm like, I'm gonna leave the office early. I'm gonna go find a bar and I'm gonna open up my laptop and have a couple of beers and then just look at it and think and ruminate and all that stuff. And eventually it kind of comes to me. I don't know if I'm going to roll it out for the market update, but this whole idea of real estate holding a piece of the future is going to be an amazing talk. And it all came to me like on Friday night. Oh, by the way, I want to thank everybody that came out to the little fish fry we had at the local bar there at Lazy Oaks. We had a great I don't know how many people we had there, 20?
The big word, the key word in that was fry. Everything was fried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to.
How'd you like it? Did you like it?
It was fine.
It was
I had chicken fingers.
Oh, you didn't do the fish.
And I tried a little bit of fish.
Yeah.
They're both really juicy and tender. Everything was great. Yep.
And they came out like magma hot.
Yeah.
My God, it was hot.
They were very hot.
But that's like my local neighborhood bar now. It's great little place. We end up running into a couple of the neighbors. I'm getting to know the neighbors.
Would have been better if it wasn't raining. It felt.
Oh yeah, when it's sunny outside and you're sitting outside, it's great.
Yep.
And the kids are all playing. It's a lot of fun. It's a great little kind of neighborhood hole in the wall. So we'll do that probably once a month.
Sure.
And I'll call them ahead of time and see if we can somehow
set
get
it up,
tables
and if it's
together
nice
or something.
Out, just reserve some benches outside.
Yeah.
Yep.
But neat little place, literally like a quarter mile from the house I'm going to live in here pretty soon. But anyway, so yeah, the idea is that, you could tell, if you need motivation to get started in this business, wait till it really starts getting rough.
Right.
Like wait till, what's funny is you get around a group of investors, and I know who the real deal are, investors, when they all start talking about their losses. Mm-hmm. When everyone starts talking about how much money they make, I'm like, this is the this is the kiddie table at Thanksgiving. Like, I don't want to listen to this nonsense, right? You go to one of these networking events and it's, we're doing this and we're doing this and we're crushing it here. I'm like, whatever. Where's the group of guys that are a little salty because they just lost a little money on a deal, or they had something fall apart, or whatever ill of the day is. But when you're not, I don't want to say when you're not losing, because I don't want to call it losses, but when you're not losing, you're not really winning either. And that's one of the problems I have with kind of the Facebook, what do they call it? Motivational porn. When I read some of this stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. Why don't you share something about the last deal that you did that you just got absolutely whooped on? And it happens from time to time. So why not share that? I think that is so much more important than, I'll go back to something I had heard. I won't mention his name because I've not asked him if I could share it publicly, but it's one of the things he said. He's like, look, when I look to invest my money and my company's money with a real estate investor, the first question I ask him is, have you lost money before?
Right.
And if they say no, it's a result of one of two things. You're a liar or you're not experienced enough.
Yeah.
So I always find that fascinating when I start having a conversation with somebody. Have you lost money on a deal? No, I haven't. Okay, you're either lying or you're not experienced enough. Or if you've been in this, oh yeah, I lost money on a deal 10 years ago. I'm like, either you're not doing enough transactions or you're lying to me.
Right. Or you've been out of the game. I've seen a lot of that. It's like, we went and we got our backpack and we went out there and we flipped the house. First one was great. Second one we lost money on.
Okay.
So how'd you do on the third? Well, we're still looking for our third. Now they're all cautious.
Oh yeah.
Now all of a sudden they've retreated. It's like, you've got to go. Just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Learn from your lessons, but we've got to get 3, 4, and 5 done in a hurry.
What I find fascinating about that comment is, it's like, hey, did you play sports in high school or college?
Right.
A lot of people did, right? So it's, yeah, I did. Okay, well, did you have a bad game? Did you have bad practice? Did you have a bad day in the gym? Yeah. Would you just not go the next day? Like, I don't.
Took a loss. We're just going to cancel the season.
Yeah, we took an L, so no, I don't. That's it. I'm done. I'm like, everybody's got days where you went into the day thinking, oh, this is going to be great, and then it all just kind of fell apart. But the difference between folks who win, whether they're business relationships, personal, any of that stuff, is like, okay, we had a setback, didn't work out. Now let's turn it back around.
And I thought about that as well. And I think what happens is people will retreat to their comfort zone.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
They take a step out, they get good, they take another step, and they get punched in the face, and then they run back into their covel, right? Mm-hmm. And just hide in the cave. Mm-hmm. We're not coming out. It's too scary out there.
That's right.
And that's a problem, right? You've got to go. The trick in this business is to get punched in the face and still move forward.
That's right.
Right? If you can't do that, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's only about 11%. 1 in 10 of us are really cut for this, right? Mm-hmm. And it's okay to be part of the 90.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
It really is. And there's ways to hedge and all that stuff. The mastermind folks are only buying 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 are going to pace themselves. They're perfect.
Yeah.
Doing it absolutely perfectly. Our group is
let's talk about that. Moving, there's a difference between pacing.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And completely backing up.
Yep.
Like there is, I could tell you when we grew Houston House Buyers, I would have paced it a little bit differently at about year 2 because we were growing so fast, so much success. I mean, crazy amounts of success in those first 3 years. And I would have paced it a little. If I would have done anything differently, I would have paced it a little bit better.
Yes.
But I mean, it all worked out in the end anyway. But that's where you get all the gray hair from, right? So,
we had a mastermind student show up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Said, "Hey man, I only got 10 minutes. I'm in a rush. I need these questions answered." I was like, "Yes, yes, no, no. Go here. Look at this." And I was like, "Good." He's like, "You just saved me thousands of dollars." I'm like, "Well, that's why I joined the mastermind,
that's
right?"
Why you wrote me a $10,000 check.
That's why you're here, right? So, but understand that yes, yes, no, no, go here is a combination of almost 12 years of knowledge at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the one who took it in the face.
Yeah.
On this one, I'm the one who realized don't paint black windows white.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right. I made that mistake. I took it on the chin. Now I just saved you whatever $2,000, $3,000 for that mess.
Plus the heartache of this and it doesn't look right and all that nonsense, right?
Yeah. So it's like you work with the wisdom of the group, right? That's what we're about.
You know what I was thinking about? I was watching a movie this weekend and this just popped in my head. I was thinking about all the folks that have gone to Corpus that are not in our group, that are trying to have the same success, and I'm starting to hear the grumblings through through the grapevine.
Oh, yeah.
That are just getting obliterated down there. And they're like, you guys said this is one of the best markets in Texas. I said, no, it is the best market in Texas.
If you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing.
Right.
And they're just getting crushed. And I'm like, you could have joined our mastermind for 10 grand, dude.
No, they're too smart.
Yeah, they're too smart. I don't want to join y'all's
Too
thing.
smart. Yeah, they're too smart.
I'm too smart. I'm too experienced. I'm like, whatever. So, yeah, that collective wisdom of the group when you're learning with more than a couple of brains. And the other thing I think that's important too is we're working with other inside our mastermind. We're working with folks that are outside of our partnership too, right? So when you get into these partnerships, you can develop group myopathy, right? So you're just looking down this. You've got tunnel vision. There's how many partners we have now? It's there's 5 of us, right? Who am I missing? Oh,
well, hold that
6.
idea. We're going to come back from this break, and we're going to talk more about JVs and partners. It's Robert and Jason, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Sorry, he starts getting all hand crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Jason Bible, Robert Orfino, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. So here's why I think the mastermind is important, is that even in our partnership, and if you look at like our main partners that are in just about everything, right? It's you, Catherine, me, Brian, and then our 2 partners here, right?
Yep.
So there's about 6 of us that we see each other at least weekly, if not daily. And you can develop this myopic vision with 6 people. It's called groupthink. And it actually happens. It's a very real phenomenon. It happens. Well, all the QA people. I mean, that's groupthink on steroids, right? I mean, just crazy banana pants stuff.
Yep.
So one of the things that's nice about our mastermind is a lot of the folks in our group are also work in industries obviously outside of real estate, right? But as a group, we can come together and then share ideas, and then it's like, okay, that reminds me of this. It's not something that I've heard said before by Jim Rohn, and it's someone in the group's not going to come up with this novel idea. Someone's going to say something that's going to trigger something in your mind and go, now that makes sense. Now I understand the 2 or 3 pieces that I'm missing. So that's how we look at our mastermind group. It's not just what color should I paint the walls. Well, don't get me wrong, that's important. But don't get me wrong, that stuff is important. But it's the higher level stuff. Let me put it this way.
We're painting our houses bright orange, neon green, lilac, and sunshine yellow.
Yeah.
So we missed that class on how to paint
houses. I will tell you, every real estate guru in town will tell us not to do that.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like,
how many do you have?
Yeah, how many you got?
Yeah.
How many you got? Boy, I'm a member of a couple of car groups, and it's always pretty funny when guys start talking trash about, Teslas or something like that. And I'm like, I almost want to throw right back at them. Look, are you even a potential customer for them?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. What? I don't know, man. I'd never want to be, take a ride up to the International Space Station. I'm like, you can't afford it anyway. So what do you care?
What are you talking about?
How do you care? What do you care?
It's $3,000 just to go up in a 747 and go up and down for 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, what do you care for? It's always so funny to me. It just, anyway. So, yeah, it's the advice from the peanut gallery. So here's the fascinating thing: who should you take advice from?
Right.
Who should you take quote motivation from? Because I can tell you with you and I, this is absolute fact. This isn't bragging and being all that. You start looking around, and everyone said it when we were on this path: is the air starts to get real thin.
Yeah.
You start looking around, you go, where's everybody else at? And then you start looking. Okay, so who should be?
I thought everyone was here.
You know what?
I watched all those videos. I thought everybody was in
here.
this club. Where is everyone?
I start talking to guys and gals. I'm like, hey, what are you doing about this tax issue or this liability issue? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, I thought you were.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not really here yet, are you? You're not here yet. I'm like, okay, so why should I be taking advice from you? It's very interesting.
And that's one of those things. And here's a big pitfall when you're becoming an entrepreneur. Forget buy and hold 10 houses, right?
Yeah.
Talking about going out, starting a business, whatever it is, wholesaling, whatever it is, right? It's the marketing pitfall.
Oh, yeah.
We talked a little bit about that. And there are people out there. I mean, we do this for deals and money. right? And it works.
Deals and money. We're on the radio for deals and money.
Deals and money. So if you're listening, you want to invest with us, give us a shout. We have a crowd fund. And if you have a house you want to sell, give us a shout. If you're a landlord, we want to buy your whole portfolio, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
But people get into that like, I need to market. Someone told me I need to market. And here's my biggest problem in the entrepreneur space. There is a subset of just marketers and business coaches and lifestyle coaches who teach about being an entrepreneur from their point of view. And it's like, but you're not making anything.
That's right.
You're not making anything. You're barely employing anyone, right? You're the solopreneur. You're in the S, right?
Right.
You're in that S box. You do not take advice from those people in the S box to be entrepreneurs, right? You want to look over on the I and the B side. We're talking about little
Kiyosaki here.
Kiyosaki, right? And so all those people drop down into that S box and live there and struggle and die there.
Right.
And I'm watching some of these folks and I'm like, well, if you're, we have a business coach, marketing coach, great guy. But the guy has been massively successful in 5 to 10 other things.
Which I think is so funny is when I introduce people to him and they watch him on Facebook and they're like, this is the guy. I'm like, this is the public side.
Yeah.
This is not the private room guy. Like when you see him, when we have a conversation in a private room, it's a very different conversation.
So, yeah, guys, importer, exporter, has an Academy Award and owns real estate, right? So he's a guy you want to know, right? But there's a world out there where I'm a business coach. Great. What's your business? My business is business coaching. I'm not interested.
I'm not interested. But here, I'll also add this level of complexity to it because I see it with a lot of folks. It's most people mistake entrepreneurship and self-employment. And what I see is 99% of folks out there are self-employed. They may, quote, own the company.
In the entrepreneur space. They're S's.
Yeah, they may own the company, but I'm like, you own
CEO.
It. Yeah, you're CEO, whatever.
I love those.
And I could name a ton of really big companies in town right now that would blow you away, and I consider them self-employed.
Yeah.
They're absolutely self-employed. Can you sell your company? That's really the question.
That's the real question.
And the answer to all of them is no.
Right.
Then
what other assets do you have?
Right.
I gotta basically have a list.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, what you think you're doing. This is so Tom Perry says this all the time, and I think it's brilliant. Where there's this old saying where there's a guy and he's shoveling. Works at the circus, and he's shoveling elephant dung. Right? Yep. He's shoveling elephant poop, and this guy walks up to him and says, "Hey, man, why don't you just get a different job? Like, this is awful. You're shoveling elephant poop all day." And he says, "What? Leave show business?"
Right.
So there's a lot of people out there that are like, quote, entrepreneurs. I'm like, you ain't an entrepreneur. You're self-employed.
Self-employed. You're a tax avoider.
Yeah, you're self-employed. Yeah. But you can't just like up and leave.
Right. There's no assets there. Right.
And there's really no. That's right. There's really no. There's work. Yep. There's no real assets there. So in business, there's actually an accounting term for this. So if you sell a company in excess of, let's say, its book value. Did our lights just turn off?
No one's moving up there.
Oh, nobody's moving up there. That's right, because half our office is out.
Yep.
So if you sell your business, there's an accounting term called goodwill value. And what that goodwill value really is a number that's kind of between what the book value, meaning all the assets are worth, and what the brand is actually worth. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you right now, I know few companies like on my hand that can sell in real estate with goodwill value that are not brokerages. Let me put it that way. Everybody else is just self-employed.
Yes.
You're not an entrepreneur because you flip a couple houses.
No.
You're not an entrepreneur because you got 10 or 15 rentals. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. Why? Because no one's going to pay you more for that rental property than what it appraises for. Nobody's going to pay you for that flip any more than it appraises for. Nobody's going to pay you any more for, let's say you're a note guy, right? You're buying and selling. No one's going to pay you any more than what that note is actually worth. Now, when they come in and say, I want to buy the company, I want to buy your flipping company, I want to buy your rental company, now you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
But until then, you're just self-employed. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's not run around thinking we're all Grant Cardone here.
We're not.
And you're not. Yeah.
Hey, this is Robert and Jason. We're from Mr. Texas Real Estate. This is the Texas Real Estate Radio Network. If you want to reach out to us, go ahead and text us. Text at 281-401-9008. 281-401-9008. We'll be back.
All right, I'm fired up. Let's roll back into this because I'm going to explain why that's all important here in a minute. All right, we're back. Jason Bob, Robert Orfino, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I just angered everyone who's got entrepreneur CEO on their business card. So here's the difference. Here's why goodwill value is so important. It's the difference between making a few million and becoming a billionaire.
Yep.
That's the difference.
Yep.
Why is Tesla valued at where it's at? Because they're buying into the future value of what that company is really going to be worth.
That's right.
Now, here's the question. What's Tesla worth if Elon's not around?
Yeah.
We found that out with Apple, right? We're about to find that out with Berkshire Hathaway at some point. I mean,
Getting close.
yeah, he has been completely transparent. Obviously, he's not a spring chicken, and he said we're essentially going to break it up and there's going to be 5 CEOs, right? Mm-hmm. That's exactly how Berkshire's going to do it. So, but there's still real value there. So when people talk about, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, well, no, your value, your net worth is directly derived from an appraisal of the assets that you own. And if you have a business on top of that, you're really just self-employed.
Yeah.
So when we look at what we're doing for the Texas Real Estate Center and Mr. Texas Real Estate and all that, we see a real multiplier there.
You bet.
And how do I know that? Because I've watched brokerages sell like that. When Berkshire Hathaway came in and bought a handful of the brokerages here, you think they paid book value for that? I can tell you they absolutely did not. So the model, if you're really an entrepreneur, is to sell at multiples of what the actual assets are worth.
Yes.
So everybody else
Which is why construction companies are worthless.
That's right.
Even the biggest.
Even the biggest are worthless.
Yep.
That's why property management companies
Worthless.
are effectively worthless.
Yep.
It's at the end of the day is does the organization run without you?
Getting there.
We're getting there.
I put 8 new hires on the board.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I mapped that all out on Saturday.
So we got 8 more people we got to hire.
8 people to hire.
We're just running out of space for
and only
bodies.
2 of them do not make us money. All other 6 are direct impact to the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to make that. They got to be on the income.
Well, I
stream.
got motivated because I was on a phone call with someone and we were talking about, hey, Grant Cardone, and this person said, you want to know why Grant's so successful? I was like, sure, tell me why Grant's so successful. I'm absolutely. She's like, he has dozens of salespeople for everything he does. Yeah. His sales to operation is probably outweighed 2 to 1.
Which is incredible when you think about it.
Right. And so we're running around trying to, you're out there trying to be a business coach. Like, how many salespeople do you have?
That's right.
Well, just me. Well, that's messed up, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trading time for money, and you've got to basically start hiring people.
That's right.
You've got to create jobs. It's like, I'm a marketing guy. Great. How many salespeople do you have? Well, it's just me.
Yeah, then you're
just working. It's just a job, right?
You know, one of the things I like to nuke from high orbit is when I sit down with a marketing person, I go, tell me who the target market is. 99% of the time, they don't know.
Nope.
And I'm like, well, how are you marketing? You work for this company as a marketing person. Tell me what the target market is. And if you can't tell me what that is, then what do we... Let's back up. For you guys to join our mastermind, what are the 3 things you have to have in order to join our mastermind?
You need good FICO.
Good FICO score.
Yep. Need income, W-2 income, excess of $100,000.
And about $40,000 to $50,000.
$50,000 would be better. Yep.
In a checking account somewhere, ready to deploy. Why is that? Because that's our target market. Because we know those are the folks that are going to be most successful within our group.
And ready to take action.
Yeah, and they got to be ready to take action, right? And so whenever I sit down with somebody, I'm like, okay, we sit down with our marketing folks. What is the whole point of this thing we're doing?
Right.
What is the target market that we're trying to reach? Once we start with that, again, this is basic Stephen Covey, right? We're going to begin with the end in mind.
Exactly.
So what's the end in mind? We want these people that fit this profile to come into this building.
Exactly.
So, and then, of course, the second step of that is once we've identified those people and they've responded to our marketing, now it's time to go send the sales folks out there to get it closed.
Yep.
So let's tie it I'm trying to tie a nice bow on this whole thing. If that's all you're self-employed.
You're self-employed. You're not an entrepreneur. Stop it.
Or you've got you've got technicians that are working for you that you then just kind of babysit. If that doesn't happen without you being involved outside of the strategy, you're just self-employed. There's nothing wrong with that. But in order to get to that next level,
you got to put the work in. You got to put the time in. Here's the big thing: just how to get to the next level. Maybe that's what our motivation should be. One of the big things is you can't take a paycheck in the first 2 years.
No,
you call yourself an entrepreneur, and I see you at some Mexican resort, and you're drinking $100 shots and all this stuff. You're an idiot. You're not. You're not growing anything.
You're not growing anything.
Right? You've got to grow. You've got to keep putting the money back in. No paycheck for the first 2 years.
Yes.
Right? Period. All the money goes to hiring other people to make you more money.
Yeah, I think people miss that. When we started Houston House Buyers, we bought 7 houses, we made $500,000. All that money went back into the company.
Right.
Why? Because you're in hyper growth mode.
Yep.
The faster you hire people, the faster you send out the marketing, the faster you start closing sales, the bigger you get.
Yep.
And that money has got to go right back into the company.
We just raised $2.3 million so far this month.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We did that. That's deals and money, right?
Right, deals and money.
We raised $2.3 million, and you and I got, I think, an $8,000 check.
We did get an $8,000 check.
We got an $8,000 check. That's what Jason and I got paid off of 2 point. Where did it go? It got deployed. It brought more wealth in, and it allowed us to hire other people. Mm-hmm. That's where it is. Now, there's a payday coming for me and you.
There's a big payday coming.
But it ain't now. We're still, there's 8 more people to hire on that board to have everything flushed out here.
Yeah.
And we've got to get those people in. Now, 3 are immediate, 4, 5, and 6 in the near future, and the last people will be a little bit later. But you have to have that plan, and you got to work that plan. You just can't stop in the middle of it and say, I deserve a reward. I deserve a spa day. No, you do not. You need to get back to work.
Yeah.
And if you're taking spa days, me day, I need a me day.
Yeah.
No, you know what? You're a worker.
Yeah.
That's who needs me days.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a business owner. You're not an investor. You're not the B and the I. You're in the E and the S.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Recognize it. And it's okay to be there.
Yeah, it's fine.
We know people make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in that space. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But don't pretend like you're in this column creating wealth and jobs and all this other stuff, right? And don't you dare complain about taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, you ain't making... Well, maybe we ought to make the distinction here. This is the difference that people get introduced with an M in front of their name or a B.
Yes.
That's the difference. If the conversation is, yeah, I really can't wait until there's all this passive income and my business runs from a beach, you will never be a billionaire.
Right.
Ever. You'll never get within sniffing distance of it.
Correct.
You've got to make your first million by 35.
Yep.
And you'll make your first billion by sometime in your 60s.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is you're putting that money right back into the business and you're building and building and building.
The window's closed for me.
Yeah.
The window's closed.
Yeah, there's just not enough time.
150 mil is not impossible here if we do some smart things in the next 10 years. But, that billionaire number, that ain't me. And we know billionaires and we know what it takes. And it's like, I get it. They're everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. That Warren Buffett can go have some Dairy Queen is, it's nice little PR stuff, but he's working his ass off every day.
Every day.
Yeah, and all that weight of everything on him, right? So that's tremendous amount of effort that a person has to put together to be a billionaire.
So there's a scene in Billions. Even if you don't watch it, there's this one scene, it's like second or third episode, where a former trader that worked for Bobby Axelrod, who runs this gigantic hedge fund, starts to turn and work with the law enforcement. Let's just say it that way. And he said, all right, he puts together this plea bargain. And he says, all right, tell me what it's like. What does Bobby do? And he said, no, take me through a day working with Bobby Axelrod. And he said, literally, it's sun up to sundown. Mm-hmm. And he said, you don't know if the guy's in the office. You don't know if you think he's in Barbados, but really he's in Oklahoma looking at an oil and gas company. And he said, when he walks in the office, that's when the meeting starts. And it's 24/7 of that. So a lot of folks they think it's, the guys on the plane and having a great time. I mean, he does do that from time to time, but it never stops.
You don't turn it off.
Yeah. And he said, you get to a size where everything just starts coming to you, which should sound familiar.
And when he turns it off is when he pays someone $100,000 to focus his mind.
That's right. Yeah.
If you watch that, he's not taking beach days.
No.
Right?
No.
He's paying someone $100,000 for a weekend to focus his brain on something.
That's right.
Hey, this has been fun. Thanks a lot, guys. Robert and Jason here on Mr. Texas Real Estate Radio Network.